Beautiful. I think we're all live. We're ready to rock and roll. So welcome everybody. I am super excited to have my beautiful Soul Light Star family, Julie Dhara. You may or may not know her, and so this is an amazing opportunity for you to get to know her a little bit more, what she does and everything that she brings up to the table. I'm going to be starting to have more of my Light family come together. We're just going to chat. We're just going to go with the flow, be completely open as to what we're going to share, what we're going to talk about. And so I hope that you enjoy our chat. So tell us where you are right now, Julie.
I'm in Massachusetts in the United States, East Coast, the frozen tundra that's melting rapidly.
I've seen pictures of snow that you've posted, and so apparently that's melting or that's melted already. And so do you feel like there's another snow that might come through, or?
Oh, for sure. The last few years, the snow has been later into April and May.
Okay.
But now we've hit the past, like the spring snow comes and it's like very water coated and crystalline, but then it goes away fast too. So
okay.
In the hump, once we pass that cross quarter, the February 1st, February 2nd time, the sun is so much stronger. It helps to melt things. Anyway.
Yes. Is this your favorite time of the year?
Fall's my favorite time of the year.
Okay. Fall. Okay.
I'm a fall. I'm a September equinox baby. I was born on September 23rd. So that's like fall has always been like my birth time. I feel like all those fall colors are for me. Kind of like my daughter is born on the winter solstice-ish, December 18th.
Oh my goodness.
But she's like, for her, like all of that, like the winter and like the tree we put in the house and all that, all that's for her. So for me, it's like the fall colors. Those are all for me.
Yes. So cool. So however you want to flow, like how I know Andaras are a huge tool and energy that you work with.
True. In the light coding.
I'm gonna kind of keep it that and let you go with that flow if you feel.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here to chat today. When we were pre-chatting and saying like, what should we talk about? We were like, we have a whole like spectrum of things that we share joy and love for, you and I. And Crystalline Grid keeping with Andaras is a huge part of my soul, fire, light, joy. And oh my gosh, it's so fun. You're like retreating into the sun rays.
Can you see me? I can't even
see. You're melting. I love it. It's perfect. Keep it like that. It's great. Okay. Well, it's kind of perfect to the topic of that. This, that we're meeting up here in February and this 222 year, and we're in the 222 gateway, like all this February, all this building. So to me, like this time we're in right now it's so interesting because it's this simultaneous melting, dissolving, releasing of all the old and keeping ourselves noticing, clearing away any of the tendrils or attachments that we have to the old structures and really releasing them. And that's like a full-time job for all of us. And at the same time, all the new codes are streaming in like kind of never before, right? You and I have been doing this for many years, right? It's just like the pouring through of what's coming is like every day is like a year or a century of like codes, I was like, oh, we talk, we're doing? So we're building the new, and it's all simultaneous and it's all dynamic. There's a lot of dynamic flow right now.
Oh my goodness. It's just this downpour, like you said. It's just it never really stops. I mean, it's never stopped, but I feel like because it's been amplified a little bit, it just kind of feels like, whoo, it is a little bit stronger for sure.
So going back to that, the weather patterns here, I very much work with the weather.
Yes.
So like a grid worker, grid keeper, crystal and all that stuff, like the weather really, I don't know, we work together in sync, like we all do, right? But this time of year here where I am is like we were saying, we get this big storm, we get this like dump. It represents the cycle that we're all in, humanity on Earth right now, I think too. But we get these, like the crystalline coding comes in, and it's amazing. And we get like, you know, feet or inches of all this crystalline knowledge and data. And then it's pretty quickly, like the sun comes and it gets evaporated into the air. It like goes into the riverways, it goes into the ground. It's like the cycle of the seeding and disseminating and purifying and all of it. It's just like, whew. And it's, you know, day by day, week by week, it's definitely amplified and quickened. Have you noticed that too? Like that, like it's just, there aren't we used to get times where we'd like regroup or plateau and pause and get to like regroup internally, but I'm not finding those moments that much.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Like on to the next, on to the next, on to the next.
It's almost like, you know, when we've heard, we were not getting really a break anymore. It's like, no, you got to just move through it as fast as you can, because that will prepare, like, you got to be ready for the next one and the next one. Like, just continuously open up, because it is happening a lot faster.
It's cool as we talk about this is coming through for me just right in this moment. It is like we're working to become, all of us, more quantum and to be in the flow. And so like instead of having these just discrete things that are more linear, it's like beep, 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 like we're stringing them together in this continuous time space fabric.
It's like,
so if our quantum selves don't need that break, right? We're just like these supercomputers, like these super quantum computers that can process the code this fast. It's our human beings that are like, whoa, can I just get some time on the couch? Yeah. Like, no, get up and do it.
The head, the thinking is what stops the flow. So it's like with all of these, with so much more momentum, it's like we don't have any time to think anymore, because we weren't even supposed to. And anyway, it's like you said, we're going full quantum, where it's like, don't think, like we can't even think. Actually, we're kind of being forced to just continuously adapt to the flow and just keep going and going and going. It's fascinating. It's like you know, sometimes it's challenging for the ego and challenging for just like the way that we're so used to flowing before. You know, so I still see and read a lot of people that are, you know, the struggle of like, I can't get things done, or I'm not able to function as I used to. And so it's like opening up to, it's like we weren't really supposed to function like that. And so we're being pushed out of our comfort zone so that we can just flow, be more in sync with the flow of these frequencies. That makes sense.
Or or things get like layer sandwiched on top of each other. Like a simple yet profound example for me in the last few days. I wanted to pick up some bins at Target, some like organizational things, because I'm in the, you know, I think we're all feeling that, like, get your space organized, spring cleaning, organizational. So I had, and around here, I had to drive to a place that was like 15, 20 miles away to find the things that I wanted. So I did the order online and I was going, and then I had this, you know, I bring Andaras with me kind of, you know, everywhere I go for sure, but that it's like for myself, who has quite a vast collection of them, like picking out which rays or what's going to work with you on that day is a thing too, right? Or like, what do you grab and put in your pocket or put in your purse? And I think it's in the other room. I could go get it. But a few came with me, and my kids are always busting I have a, you know, 12, like a preteen who's like, Mom, there's crystals all over the seat. Like, get these out of here. But that, like, he's like, why is my seat covered in? so I had the crew that I had with me yesterday, and like, you know, my earth plane thing was I'm going to Target, right? And then there's a myriad of ways that I could drive. And the rivers, I do a lot of work with the rivers too, and water is just a thing. And I don't live in a place that has these crystalline pure waters. I live in the industrial Northeast, and our waterways have been, you know, decades of misuse, centuries of, you know, industrial and wasteland. So I went through this way and I was like, oh, I want to go. So there's a river here. It's called the Ascension River. And the headwaters are pretty close to where I'm sitting now. They're up the road a bit. And it's just like the swampy, you know, little brook where it starts. And so I was like, oh, I'll take the roadway that goes through, you know, through by the headwaters. And often I'm, you know, like pulling over, popping out of my car, taking pictures, doing, you know, like doing things with crystals. And so I've worked this area of the globe quite a bit. So I have a lot of access points, and the pathways are well established for me. I was like, all right, I'll go this way. And then I know I could see this. And then there's a place called the Hockomock Pond, which is, it's an EPA Superfund site actually, because of all this place used to, you know how they like soak telephone poles in creosote, or soak things, and creosote is like what keeps wood outside. Anyway, back in the 1920s, 30s, this mill did all this, and it would just like dump it into the river. Okay. And anyway, it's they're working on cleaning it up. But so one of the things, like I do some crystalline, you know, like the waterways can use all the love and light and pumps of goodness we can give them here. So I was like, oh, okay. And then things, because I was talking about the melt cycle is on, right? It was just like the element that was ruling our day 2 days ago was just like water. Because like when the snowpack melts and we got tons of rain, we had this big storm, which I'll talk about in a minute. And like, it was like, oh, wow. You know, we went from like 0 degrees to like 60 degrees within a few days. And we had about a foot of snow. So it was just like, you know, it's just like everything's mud and water. And so I was like, oh, I gotta go work with the riverway. So I'm driving, and I went to a few of my spots, and one of the Andaras that I brought along, when I went to this waterfall spot that I can park in the, like, it's a CrossFit gym, you know, like slash like Harley Davidson parts place. So I just sort of parked and I would like, you know, hike it, not hike, but like go to like where there's a hole in the barbed wire fence there, and I can take pictures of the river. But it's like, you're doing these things in like very, for me, it's like very suburban. You know, it's like you're in the Target parking lot, or you're in the Harley Davidson, you know, CrossFit gym parking lot. And these are the access points to see the rivers and be with them for a bit. And we got to this point, and the colors. So I had this Andara with me. And if you want to, I can link, I put a few videos up on YouTube of what I was doing yesterday. Okay. We could link them for if people want to see. But it's like a brown, tan, green, but with a little bit of white on the tip. And it, like, I picked it up, and it was like the exact color of where I was. It was just like those moments of like, oh, that's why this crystal wanted to come along. It was like kind of like the platinum ray, kind of this purification, and it just like matches. Like those are the moments where I like geek out, and I love that. You know, I was like, oh, this is why I brought that. And then like song codes will come through, and I, you know, I listen to music in the car, and then and I went along my way, and I did my thing, and I did get to Target eventually. And then there was the cloud beings that were there, like speaking of water in air. So I took a bunch of pictures from there, because there was like the winged collectives have been coming through for me really strong in the last archangels, dragons, phoenixes, like things with wings, elementals with wings. Yes. And there was like really prevalent in the sky. And then, you know, then I get to go in and buy my bins, get back in the car, like get back to, you know, like, so it's like, we're always crystalline grid keeping. It's not like they're separate. It's like, yes, I'm going to Target, but I'm also doing this thing. So then last night we had this you might, if anyone's seen the weather reports for the country, there was this big windstorm ice thing that came up the Ohio Valley. And so we had a super intense storm last night. It felt really different to me. And I do a lot of work with a lot of storms, because this was kind of just like this straight line wind. Like it woke the whole house up at, you know, several times during the night, and almost felt like the wind was like penetrating through the walls of the house. And it was, you know, it's different than a hurricane or a vortex kind of storm. We get a lot of northeasters here. This was just like straight line wind. And it had this quality of like dragon's breath, like purification, like I really feel like the grid's got this whole like recalibration here. And then I was, then today I was like, oh, that's why I was, they were like that platinum ray, go out and be with the rivers was happening yesterday for me. And then this morning I dropped my kids off at school and we had like the way that the air was clearing. I took tons of cloud pictures this morning. So I'm always, but it was like all these things. And then after I dropped them off, one of the lakes that I work with is called Silver Lake. I was driving along and there was a full rainbow over it. And I, of course, like pulled over into this like muddy ditch and I'm getting out of my car and climbing on snowbanks, trying to take pictures. It was just so beautiful. And it had this whole, I was like, oh, the purity that comes after one of these eruptions of some of the like goo or for whatever word, like it's like there's old that gets cleared out. And then the crystalline and the new, and then the rainbow. And I was like, oh, the rainbow, I've been doing I always do a lot of work with rainbow coding and color coding and the rainbow bridge. But I have this new course that I've been wanting to offer for a while. And it goes with activating the rainbow LightBody. And I've been accumulating teams of rainbow coded Andaras to go with it, to offer to people. And I was like, oh, what the perfect way of the universe to tell me, because that you're saying the head, my head has been like, I've wanted to launch this course for, probably 2 years, right? I was like, I got to get it out there. I've been working on it, and then I keep like running into things on the human level that change the timeline of like when it's going to come out. And just to work for myself of like, everything happens in the perfect time, when I get that rainful, because the rainbow thing, especially here in the winter, is not like, we don't get a lot of rainbows. And I was like, all right, thank you, universe. It's like it's a whole thing. Because I have so I have this, can you see through the window there? Can you see this? Oh no, that's just, no, you can't see it. I have the little, I have a rainbow, I could take us out there, but I have silk, like dyed silks. I have an octagon rainbow place to hang out, like a big rainbow octagonal grid to like balance folks' energies here to myself.
Did you post that? No, did you send me a picture of that? No.
I sent you a picture on the floor in the middle of it. But anyway, I'm working with that. It's like, I guess we're talking free flow of what I'm up to. But I was like, so yesterday it was like, that was the clear out and the river work. And then this morning it's like, oh, we're on to rainbow time. It's like rainbow body activations. But that kind of goes to our talking about like the in-betweens. This morning, it's like simultaneously, I do feel like, and I woke up because we got woken up many times, the whole house did, just with the wind. Okay. And I kind of woke up feeling like, like you really have much energy. And I find like when I'm doing a lot of bridge building and light building, it affects the human form a lot too, like the joints, the muscles, the bones. Like I've been feeling it a lot, like a lot of us have, right? So you're simultaneously like in that like dragging your human form along for the ride feeling, and the like, oh my God, it's time, like the rainbow coding, it's like, it's time to get on. And so you're working on these multiple levels of human exhaustion / soul spirit elation / I can't get out the workout quick enough because it's, there's so much coming through.
Yes.
Am I making any sense? I feel like I'm talking all over the place. But it's good, right?
No, like there's so much. I love the fact that you shared this experience that that you had when you were driving to Target, where
it doesn't get any more earth plane than driving to Target to get bins, right?
And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we know, like we have our set schedule of like things that we need to get done, but if something pops up and it's like we get called to go, like we go, like we just, this is our daily day of like, we have things planned, but then we just, if something pops up or shift changes and I have to, drive somewhere else or like do something before, it's like we just go do it.
I was actually an errand for the Andaras, if I could speak, like, because I am an Andara steward too, which just means somebody who passes them along to other guardians, like a salesperson, if you will. But it was like the reason I was going to Target is because the Andaras told me I had to go buy shelves that day. I was like, really? I thought I had other. So it's like, it's a deeper, even if I can geek even a deeper level. Like I wasn't going to buy shelves for human things. I was going to buy shelves for the crystals.
Okay. So you didn't mention that. And I was going to kind of bring up the, like, you know, the Andaras are so interconnected, and so like when we tune in and we really allow them to speak, they have all of these, they have the grid work set up, and all we have to do is follow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so cool.
It is so cool. It's beyond cool. It's like the coolest, geekiest, most fun thing that I do, because it's like I wouldn't have been in that parking lot if I wasn't going to get this very specific kind of bin that they wanted me to get. That's like I don't have them here because they're in my house, but they're stackable, like clear ones, so that they can stack on top of, you know. Anyway, and then like all the targets that are in the like normal part of my route, you know, the ones here are sold out of that particular one. So this one was like 18 miles, you know. It's like, who knows at what level the whole thing's orchestrated for me to be by that snowbank, by that pine tree, by that cloud, for that moment of like, you know,
like
fun.
we wouldn't have been able to figure all that and like plan it all out.
Yeah.
And we're like sticking to a schedule and sticking to time and sticking to all of these things. Like we really do let all of that go, just completely, as much as, you know, we can. And go with the flow of, like you mentioned, you know, really listening and really trusting, even if it makes no sense, even if you're, again, in like, you know, schedule or whatever time frame you're in. It's the honoring of what we're listening and being guided to, and just we're not thinking, like, we're just, okay, let's just go, let's just do it.
Because your linear mind might have a like, oh, you know, I'll just use this as an example. I'm not trying to be commercially, but I had this like, oh, I've got to, for myself, because I'm a mom with young kids, like my work time, like time to do things or be productive is while they're in school. And then they, you know, it's like, it's harder to write long pieces of sharing, or like write a, you know, like to put things out. I often try to do it when they're out of the house, so I can think clearly. But so it's like, I'm trying to, like, my go windows are, you know, in the daytime anyway, but it's like, I was going to, like, you know, my linear human self might be like, you're going to waste one of those. Like, you could be getting stuff out. And next week is school vacation around here too. So like next week's kind of a wash for like office time for me, which is fun, you know, it's playtime and fun and all that. But I had this like pressure in my own linear mind of like, you got to get stuff done by Friday, you know. I was like, I knew I was meeting you today too. And it's like, nope, you got to like drop all that, get in the car, go get bins. And who knew it was going to be like one of my, you know, how exciting and like fun and playful. That's the other part too, that for me, it's so different. It's like, it adds like an enthusiasm, like everything's an adventure, everything's joyful, everything's like totally fun and play. It's like, you know, it's like, it you know, makes the mundane, like trips to Target, like truly magical, because it's just like, oh, adding that layer of that fun part of by being by the river and having to grab the Andara that like matches exactly right. It's like, oh, just like that infuses the mundane daily things with this, like, it's pure magic and pure fun. And that like brings what brings my soul alive and makes it all the play field. Right.
And this is exactly what this is all about. And it's cool that you mentioned this, because this is exactly what I was feeling like. Play, like we literally go back into this pure play, like just fun, like let go of the list, let go of the time schedules and that, and just allow yourself to go with the flow. And it activates so much where it's fun. We're not just dragging along or like stressing about getting all of these things done. It's a completely different experience than we, you know, probably had previously, where it's so much fun. Like seriously.
organic is the word that comes to mind of the earth. Like it's like in the flow, and not organic as opposed to like the farming practices, but the like truly like weaving in the fabric of space-time, and like how you use your, like where you put yourself and in what time. And it's like in this multi-dimensional weaving way. And I don't know, this wants to come through too. One part of the Andaras have taught me over the last many years that I've been working with them, it's like they really are, they're time portals, like they're time walking, kind of, because like you can have the same Andara in the same windowsill and you can take pictures of it at the same time of day, but the season, every day is different level of light, right? Every day it will tell you something different. It will reveal something different, even in the same setting, right? Or you can walk into a room, and some of us work with sets of them that have lots of different colors, right? And like the orange ones will be like fully, it's a cloudy day, and you walk in, like the orange ones are fully illuminated from within. It's like whatever ray is governing that day, the Andaras give you that feedback. But the time port, it's like because the light, as we were talking about in February, is really different than the light in June, which is different than the light in, November. And like the angle of the sun, like they work with the sun, and they really, for me, they do speak light language to me and with me. And when I first started working with them, I don't want to use the word shadow, but the projections of them, like I do a lot with the pictures, like the Andara will be here and I'll need like a background, like a white piece of paper or a shelf or something. And like what they project, our mutual mentor, Lisa Brown, talks about it like the holographic projection of them. And or some people talk about it as like fire letters or light letters. It's like light language, and what they're projecting, the rays that are coming out of them, are a really big part of how I work with them, beyond like the actual physical stone of them themselves. Does that make sense? And so that changes like on any given day, on any given time. And like for us that have, I would say, other things in our lives, like where we get these freed up windows or these go windows to work with them. Like maybe one day it's at 11 a.m., maybe one day it's at 2 p.m. It's like, and the light, the angle of it, it's all, it's all different. It's like they'll call you, and sometimes it's under the moonlight, sometimes it's under the sunlight, sometimes it's under the starlight or the planet light. And it's
they'll know, like they will tell you where to be placed, what time, what location. I love that. And you've shared so many different photos of, different Andaras and different, with the, like you said, the light shining with the snow on the lake. Like there is just an infinite ways in which they communicate with us.
And it feels like they're like we talk about like breatharians, people that want to live off prana only and breath. There is a way that they're nourishing to the soul body, to the light body, for me too, like very, very much so. So it goes beyond like that, what the human senses, it moves into our extrasensory perception of like the higher registers and how they're interacting with our energy fields. They really do create this source of, it's like it's like plugging into the sun. It helps like a prism in a window would help us like work with the sun rays and the rainbow rays. It's like they help me interface with solar energy and star energy and all that.
Well, one of the things that came through with that is what they transmit and what they, and how we work with them is, it's like a never-ending journey. And one of the things that came through, and I wanted to ask curiously, like, what's been your experience with working with, like, I don't know what to call, like the normal, the regular, like the more known crystals per se, or I guess we want to say it like that, as opposed to like these crystals, the Andara crystals?
I've only dabbled with the so we call them carbon-based crystals.
Carbon based. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call.
They always will. And again, I'm just like, not to name drop. I'm just like bring credit where credit's due. Like Lisa Brown helped me find that distinction. She would talk about that the crystals, like the amethyst and the jasper and the, whatever, Larimar, like all those, the crystals, the usual crystals, or earth-based crystals, shall we call them, or carbon-based, work with the carbon body.
Carbon body. Okay.
And so the Andaras work with your light body.
Light body.
So to me, they're more, they're crystals, or can be like some of them, like quartz is silicon dioxide.
Okay.
In a crystalline form, which means it's a very lattice, very at its molecular structure is very organized. Andaras are more of an amorphous solid, like they're more going in the glass category.
Okay.
And they more they're not as linearly organized. So to me, they go with more plasma. But so the short answer to you is like, I haven't really worked with crystals.
Okay.
And I have this massive soul light fire to work with Andaras.
Yes.
So I don't know if I can answer your question, like how different, like, I have the amethyst and I have had crystals around, but they didn't light me up and illuminate my soul in the way that Andaras do. So I can really only speak to like the Andara play, because I'm not like a crystal girl per se. Like I have some quartz and I have some amethyst and I have some rose quartz.
Right. Well, and it's so fascinating because, and I loved how you described it. I never really put the two into together of like carbon-based crystals are more the earth crystals, the more like known, the more popular ones, I guess you could say. And I was never really drawn to them as much either. And so once I started to learn, and Lisa was, the one that kind of introduced me. I don't know if you said that, but to me, that was kind of, she was the one that opened that up.
The subject of Andaras, or the knowledge of Andaras.
I mean, I didn't even know anything about.
Yeah.
I didn't know they existed. And so once I started to kind of open up to them, it was just kind of like, just get them. Like, don't know much about them, but it was kind of like, it's time, get them, and start for you to just, be in the presence and have them in your reality. And so like you said, Lisa's always said that you never grow out of them. They're always, they're just so quantum, and they're just so vast and so rich. It's like you said, they're always pouring out. I don't know if you said this, but they're always pouring out so much, like never ending. It's just like this never ending flow of just information and guidance and just frequencies that are not, it's not the carbon-based crystals are not like that, because like you said, they're meant for the carbon-based body.
And they're, just for anyone listening that works with crystals, they're fabulous, and they're a whole, study in themselves, and they have a lot of metaphysical properties. People use them a lot. But when I heard, that's what, I heard Lisa say that, like that they work with the carbon-based, or the earth plane body, for lack of better word.
Yeah.
And the Andaras really work with your light body and your soul body, and it's a different construct. There's a different, that help assistance with awakening your light body, bringing it online completely. And then that there's a transition. So I spent a lot of time in the last couple of years, Metatron, that archangel, has been coming through to me, or my aspect of Metatron has been turning on more. How about that? And I've listened a lot to James Tiburon, is a gentleman who's from Arkansas, and he's channeled a lot of Metatron stuff.
I've heard you mention him before.
So it's cool for me because I do what I do, and I get the intel that I get, and I try to share it out as best I can. And a lot of it is space-based, if you will, like star-based, galactic, and a lot with the alignments, the astronomical alignments and eclipses and planetary alignments, and a lot of, and I use Andaras for that play for sure too. But why was I talking about James? Oh, he's a lot of the stuff that I did when I found James Tiburon's work, it was such a confirmation to me of the stuff that I was receiving directly from source, that it just, you know, when you get those, it's like, oh, somebody else is like talking the same language. And like he would talk a lot about how we're transitioning, or a lot of people have been talking about this. And he refers to Edward Casey, who's the channel from back, that we're awakening. Like James Tiburon was awakened to some of this knowledge via Edward Casey's readings, but that we're moving from a carbon-based being and species into a more crystalline-based, silicon-based beings. And that doesn't mean we're going to like give away these earthship suits. You know, I want to stay in this Julie body for a long, long time because it's how I interface with the world. Right. And, but at the same time, like we are really becoming these more crystalline beings. And for me, like in sessions with folks, I'm so blessed to do energy alignment with people one-on-one and in groups. But, you know, things would start, I'm not saying it's because of the Andaras, it just was all my awakening all at the same time. Like things would start happening in the, like, you know, I'd be working with somebody and like their bones or their left arm, the bones of the arm were like taken out and replaced with crystalline bones. People's like spinal columns, and it's an interesting, you have someone on your table and they like come out, they're like, what happened during that? I was like, well, I think your vertebrae were all replaced with crystalline vertebrae. You know, it's like, and they're like some of the people like, but you know, they're here to work with that too. It's like, we're really being, as the light body comes on, these fantastical things more become our everyday experience. And it's like, oh, you know, there was a phase of people go through of like, crystals on their skin showing more, or like the itchy eyes, or your eyes are getting more, because your ears are getting all itchy. Like it's like there are signs of your crystalline light body coming online more and more. So that's another thing I use Andaras for. It's like they take the edge off, or they make it more fun, or they assist me with the smooth flow through some of these changes that are pretty massive for the human physical form. And
we're learning to navigate all of that physicality, sensations, all of that.
And we want to have fun with it too, because that era of like, you know, whatever, listing them as the old way, you know, of like the body aches and pain, you know, all that stuff. It's like, we don't even want to like really, even for myself, I was like, I don't even want to talk to people about them as a symptom thing or as a this thing. But yet it's massively, it helps so much. Like one of the reasons why our soul tribe, light tribe has been so useful to me as a person is because I can navigate one of these things where it's like, why are my feet and my ankles like aching like unbelievably for like a few weeks? And there's nothing like wrong with me on the physical level.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, like either the crystals in your feet are opening. For me, I feel like it's my feet and ankles and legs right now are opening in a way for me to be able to be a conduit and to like download codes into the earth. You know, you have minor chakras in the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands. And like those are getting totally retrofitted right now. But to the point, like have you had feet or ankle or stuff? Or we don't have to have the same stuff, but that's one of my things right now is like shins,
for me, it's
feet,
the legs, the joints, everything has been the sore, the stiff, the aches and pains. More of
the leg, the whole leg. Like, you know, it was hips, it was this, it was knees, it was like, it's like the legs are being reformulated for me right now. And it's like, all right, just gotta go with the flow. Why are we talking about this? I was swinging around to the James Tiburon stuff. There's something else in there that I was going to talk about, but whatever.
Well, you mentioned about the light body. We're going from carbon-based to crystalline, silica, silicone, all of these different light bodies.
His interesting. He has like some good information about, and he quotes Carl Sagan, who's like a, you know, regular scientist.
Oh yeah,
talking about that this is something I listened to recently. So right now we're a carbon-based beings, right? And we have that genetic, and Carl Sagan said that the only other atom that could support life as we know it is the silicon atom. Something about its electronic structure. So it's like a lot of even mainstream scientists who might not be talking about the Carl Sagan's talking about it as in, let's look at exoplanets, meaning planets outside our solar system, and look for signs of life in the universe. And we can't just look for carbon-based beings to interact with. It could be silicon-based beings, they could be nitrogen-based beings, they could be light-based beings. That's another, if we switch topics massively, like the time we have, is the light beings, and whether you call them galactics or angelics or elementals, or like the communication avenues, bridges, openings, doorways, portals, however you want to call them, is like, they're to me, they're speaking louder than ever. And it's probably a combo of like my skill set of being able to listen and hear. I'm improving that every day because I work on it and I actively work with it. But it's also the like, are you finding this too? Like the way that they're able to communicate with us is also just much more.
I'm seeing it, like I hear more people a little bit talk about it too. Like they're also getting more and more messages. I mean, they may or may not really know like who is this or what's going on. But the whole like the portal of Earth is just opening up so much that we are just receiving so much more information, intel, like all of these, the knowledge that's being what's interesting, I usually don't word it's like it's being activated within us as well.
Well, it's right. It's not, I was just going to say, it's like, because it's so cool because it's coming from outside. So we say it's like coming to us, but we're activating it from within.
Yeah.
It's like, it's both and. It's like all these things are, it's like where our light beings are coming online more so we can talk to that part of us that is that.
Yes. Yeah, no, there's I love that you mentioned this because it's something that it's still we can't really wrap our heads around it, and we're still kind of out there and communicating as a separate being, when it is and it's not. I guess. Right.
But it's okay even in the, like, so I kind of grew up in the spiritual practice of I'm a yoga teacher by one of my first professions. And so I did a lot of work with the Vedas and like the ancient scriptures, the information that came through the Himalayan region and the Indic Valley, like all that beautiful, beautiful information in the Vedas would talk about, it's like you're awakening yourself. I forget why I even brought that up. What were we talking about right before? I got so like
so we were still kind of it's out there, but it's not out there. It's
yeah. So there's like you're awakening, like the light body. That's cool. I don't know. I just got a full brain wipe. I have no idea.
That's cool. Well, it's like we're gaining access to the information that it might be perceived to be out there and from other beings and places, and yet it's also activating the same frequency inside of us, to where it becomes more and more and more who we are, and it starts to be the information starts to come more from inside. So it's a process. I mean, like I feel, or I'm feeling right now, like, at the beginning, it was this just being open to, information coming from outside is kind of how it all starts. And then the more we like connect and merge and like go deeper, we get to essentially access the same information from inside instead of always like, going out per se. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that is kind of why my center here that I'm sitting in is called inner space.
Yes.
Like it's like outer space and inner space. It's all the same. It's the same exploration.
Yes.
As a kid, I always wanted to like literally get on a rocket and go into space. Like that was my big. Like, I wanted to be an astronaut. If you asked me from like when I was 3 or 4 till all the way through high school and college, it's like I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be an astronaut. And now I like I see like, oh, actually, like I am the rocket ship. I don't have to get on a rocket ship, but like I could go explore outer space, but I can do it from the comfort of this room that I'm in, this body that I'm in. Like you can explore inner space. It's it's the depth of, it's all here.
Well, and I feel like that's how it starts for like, you know, going out on, I guess, you know, this topic a little deeper. Like I know deep inside that we will be able to travel.
Yeah.
Intergalactically.
I remembered now why I brought up the Vedas. So because they would talk about, so in the creation stories of the Vedas, they would talk about the one, you know, source, God, goddess, source of all. It wanted to experience itself. So it would pop off a creation that was like separate from itself. So it could see itself. Like, how did the one become two? This is like, you know, like they would call it Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is the manifest form of the earth, of the body. And Purusha is the all-seeing, you know, the indivisible spirit, right? But that all the creations talked about, like out of play, they called it the Lila, the play, the Lila. They would, infinite source would create manifest objects so it could see itself and know itself better. So that's what I hear about that. Like if I'm going to talk to the Arcturians, just for instance, and that's kind of maybe goes back to some of this, like the architects of light, you know, like some of these beings. And it's cool because cross-culturally across our globe, you could go back to the, you know, the Indic society, or you could go down to Peru and talk to the shamans there. We could go to your Mexican, you know, Kundaras, and like you could go to like, you know, go to Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, in the United States, you know, go up to the North Pole, you know, by the Arctic Circle and talk to the Inuit elders. And like, there are these tales of star elders coming through form and like seeding the planet with this knowledge. And a lot of it's this similar knowledge. So it's like, even that is, but it's all this, like you take from the supreme and like you bring out this other form. So you have someone to play with. So you have someone to talk to, even as infinite source. So that's like a lot of the creation myths in the Vedas. I know I just kind of wrapped a lot in, but that's like, for me, it's like, oh yeah, like, it's like, I'm like, oh, I'll bring out my Arcturian self because I would like to talk about how to be an architect of light and build with light and build with light codes. That's a lot of that crystalline grid keeping and Andara work for me goes into that architecture of light. Quality of myself. Right. And then like I might pop out my Pleiadian aspect to talk about, you know, that to me is like the rainbow coding and the 7 sisters and the 7 colors, and like that, like being childlike and playful. Like to me, the Pleiadians bring us the rainbow coding.
I didn't think about the 7 sisters, 7 colors.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So, but that's like that. Are you still there? I love your light is changing. It's fun.
Oh my God. my human is having a little like, oh my God, like what's the light? Am I visible?
You are. It doesn't matter. You could melt into light. It's all good. I know we're talking about a lot of
talking about architects of light and like all of these.
You're more visible now than you were midway through our talk.
Yeah. Well, and then my phone is like I have to figure out how to really clean my phone because it's so dusty. And so like on top of like the light, my phone is like foggy.
Well, you have a lot of there's a lot of, some might call them orbs. There's a lot of things in your field.
Yeah.
You know, a more earth-based person might call them dust particles moving through the sunlight. And that's true too. But they're like, they show, you know, even like a lot of us take pictures of the sun, right? Yeah. Is it a lens flare? Well, of course it's a lens flare, but we use it to show like what element, you know, it's like, is it an orb? No, it's like, but to me, I use lens flares as another tool because some days they're more blue, some days they're more purple, some days they're more white. It's just like show that my camera, my like phone thing is like, is one of the tools that we use. And I use probably that's the most important tool that I have in my pocket or my toolkit because it has so much to it. But it's like, I use that to show me what are the rays. It's another communication tool, right?
Beautiful. I love that you mentioned that, because it is, we can get stuck in the head and like, oh no, it's only this and it's only that. But yet, if you open up to it, it could help support us in bridging all of these things that are coming through in so many different ways.
But you take pictures right around the sun. They always come through with that the green orb, right? That's around. And so I spent a lot of time cropping out, getting that out of my pictures, like the angles, because if I want to post it as a helping, like as a service to help other people's light codes come online. I've just learned, like, I don't want to have that conversation where someone on Facebook will be like, oh, that's an orb. It's like, no, it's not really. It's a lens flare. Like, I just have learned to like how to just crop it out of my photo. So I keep it in the like clear sphere of having this conversation. It's cool though too, but now you have the little rainbow under it's your bottom edge. And probably if you go back and rewatch this, there's been a lot of like, but you can tell even too in your room, like what's a dust particle, because those are kind of more, and then there's some things that are more spherical and like move around. And
so much. We can like, I mean, again, this is our playground, which is like, the more observant and the more open we are, it's like we just find all of these things and get mesmerized, and we just like play with everything.
A bird just flew like through. A big, I don't know what it was, maybe a hawk.
There's a lot. You mentioned that you've been working a lot with avians with the wings and stuff like that. So many birds, much birds have just been coming through, singing like never before. So cool.
Birds are really there's like, so I think crows are, I have I'm pointing because it's my back door, my back porch is right over there, and I have I'm on a waterway, a small little but it's like, it's so cool because like, ducks and geese, swans, they all come through. Crows, and then terrestrial birds too, of course.
So cool. Well, thank you.
How do we? I know it's like, it's fun. We had a very fun dynamic.
We can just go on and on and on, but I know that we still have other things.
It's so fun to talk to you. It's good. I feel like one of the things I resonate with you and your work, it's like, yes, we have these fantastical, magical, amazing experiences, but we're also these people like living like normal, quote unquote, human lives, like that do things like go to the grocery store and like, have a family and like, take care of other people, or like have aunties and uncles you go visit, and like things, it's like we're real world people. And we're also these incredible light beings that have like magical, fantastical things happening. We're both
right. Well, and it's I love that we can now bring this into our daily lives, and now it's about talking about it, because that doesn't change. Like you said, like we still have to go to the grocery store, we still have to like interact, we still have to like be a part of just kind of the day-to-day that's part of our reality. But yet but bridging the magical and the energy and like all of these beautiful things that come through, and just blend them into an experience where we can enjoy and have fun regardless of what's going on, like regardless.
Well, isn't that the key ingredient that the world needs now? It's like to find joyfulness in the everyday, in the like the dust particle that just flew up your nose and through your, you were talking about bridging, it's like, it's like great, it's like a little fairy, it's like, why can't we see that? Like I'm blessed because I have little people that I spend my days with, and it's like, to her that would be a fairy, right? Like she's not wrong, right? Like it's like still that coding,
it's
like,
just
bring the fairy magic,
right? And it's shifting our perspective of what we've been told what things are, and just opening up to the unreal, unbelievable, all of these different things that we were taught, and just because it's everything. Like it's everything. Everything is everything, and everything is real at some point, at some level. And so like, what are you choosing? How are you choosing to see it? What are you choosing to, feed? What belief system and what reality you're choosing?
And our light bodies run on joy. They run on enthusiasm. They run on effervescence. It's like that's what keeps the flow. That's what keeps us alive and keeps us youthful and keeps us going. Like, how do we get these immortal moments of, it's like, So being with you, I guess I was like, being with you today has brought me so much joy and fun. Thanks for having me for this convo.
Thank you so much. We will definitely, like, this is an ongoing thing. This is, I kind of want to, bring, have a flow of like, because there's so much to share and there's so much to talk about, and with everything that we're experiencing, it's like I feel we could continuously bring more to the table. So with that being said, was there something else
no, I was just gonna say I enjoy conversation, like the code exchange, like a lot more comes out than either of us individually having, making a video or having a share. It's like, I feel like I like the conversational style.
Yes. No, and again, like, thank you for being open to just going with the flow. We're becoming much more quantum, where it's like, yeah, we may have a few topics, but like in that moment, we can go a completely different direction. And it's completely perfect. Like just like you, going to Target and just kind of going with the flow and following and just, being guided. I definitely feel like that is going to be that but more of the norm. Like have everything just be that. Just go with the flow. So yeah. I loved it. I love you. Buddy. I'll see you again soon. Oh, I was gonna ask you. So you had mentioned a little bit about what you do and what you're focused on. Julie, and you share a lot of this. Your website. Can I put your information?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah.
I was gonna ask if you were. I don't know if you have. So you put a lot of information on Facebook. I don't know if everything you post on Facebook, is also.
I'm getting better at making sure it goes onto my blog too. The main thing is innerspacevoyages.com.
Okay.
That gets all my other stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make sure to have all of your information linked. And there's this, and I don't know if you have it, there's this cool cool feature on Facebook where people can now follow you on your profile instead of having to add you. And so
I feel like that's been around for a while, but I mean, Facebook's the Titanic, right? So we better find other ways of keeping in touch.
If everything you have there is all,
it's not everything. It's a little easier, but I should try to make sure.
Okay, cool.
But, I mean, like we all know it's a sinking ship, right?
Goodness gracious. Well, yeah, no, it's definitely.
So we just make sure to find other ways to keep in touch too.
Yeah, no, and like,
but I send out emails, and it's not as often as Facebook's just like the easy, like upload photos on the go tool, and I love it for that.
Yeah, but, we're everything is shifting, and as it all unfolds. But no, I'll definitely put all of your info, your contact, so that people can go look you and read all of your amazing stuff.
Thanks, Sam.
So you're welcome.
Thanks for this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. We'll talk soon. This is a continuation for sure. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining, and see you next time.